First and 10 at the Seattle 39 for the Niners. Opening drive of this second half. McCaffrey in the backfield. Play fake to him. Purdy has time. Throws to the middle. Intercepted. Reaching up. Making the interception is Jones. Wow, he looked like a receiver / tight end. He skied to make that interception.
The Seahawks' last meeting with the Steelers was one they'd rather forget. Pittsburgh's defense smothered Seattle, holding Geno Smith and the offense to just 3 field goals in a 39 loss at Lumen Field. That defeat knocked Seattle out of playoff contention, and it exposed glaring problems: shaky protection, inconsistent red zone execution, and a defense that couldn't get off the field on third downs. Now, less than a year later, the two teams meet again. This time, Seattle enters with a new head coach in Mike Macdonald, a retooled game plan, and plenty of questions about health. Can the Seahawks flip the script in week 2, or will Pittsburgh once again dictate the terms? Also, there's extra buzz too. Undercover cops in rival jerseys and encouraging injury updates are giving Seattle hope. Let's dive in and figure out exactly what's going on.
On this opening day, your Seahawks celebrate their 50th season hosting NFC West rival, the San Francisco 49ers.
Year 1 was all about getting the defense right. Mike Macdonald down the stretch, they were a top 5 defense in the league. Year 2 is all about getting the offense right. He goes out, he gets Clint Kubiak, and then of course the biggest story in Seattle all offseason, Sam Darnold, the free agent quarterback.
Let me know what y'all see over there. Yeah. Let's have fun. Let's get after it. Here we go.
Seattle's season started with a tight, frustrating loss to San Francisco, 17-13. It wasn't a blowout, but it was the kind of game that reminded fans how small mistakes can undo long stretches of solid football. The Seahawks actually had opportunities to take control. A 40-yard burst from Jackson Smith-Njigba reminded everyone how quickly he can change a drive. Next, Geno Smith moved the ball well in stretches, and late in the fourth quarter, Seattle was driving with a chance to steal the game. That drive ended in disaster when pressure off the edge forced a fumble. San Francisco recovered, and something that could have been a comeback turned into a bitter defeat.
Oh, we back home, baby. Back in Lumen. The 12 showing out today. I can't wait, baby. Let's go. Tune in.
Key words today. Communicate. Hit him in the mouth. Yeah, that's a long word.
The defense had its own highs and lows. Josh Jobe and Ernest Jones, the fourth, came up with interceptions. Each gave Seattle a spark. Julian Love was active in the secondary. He cleaned up plays and kept things from spiraling when coverage broke down. However, those moments weren't enough to overcome the bigger issue. San Francisco owned the time of possession. The 49ers held the ball for more than 37 minutes. Seattle's defense, left on the field too long, wore down as the night went on. Seattle's defense faltered with missed tackles, shaky sideline coverage, and repeated third down failures, handing momentum to San Francisco.
Blitz is coming by the Niners. Throw inside. Ball is caught. Tough catch. Cooper Kupp. And you can hear the fans. 12 seconds left on the clock. 2nd down and 10 with the ball at the 39. And Darnold's going to turn, run, far sidelines, and he's going to get the ball into field goal range. What a great call by the Seahawks. Here's Myers with a 48-yarder. It's up and through. The Seahawks come back down the field and kick a 48-yarder to take a 10-7 lead as we get set to go into the half.
The offense carried its share of issues too. Red zone execution was missing. Seattle had drives that looked promising until the field got shorter. Instead of finishing, they settled for field goals. That's why the Seahawks ended the night with only 13 points despite moving the ball well at times. The turnovers were backbreaking too. That final fumble erased what looked like a game-winning opportunity. Earlier, missed timing on routes and shaky protection also cost them in critical spots. Some players stood out for the right reasons. Smith-Njigba's big play showed why the team views him as a future star. Job and Jones each created takeaways, proof that competition in the secondary is paying off. And Love showed he could be relied upon when things got messy. However, on the other side, the offensive line struggled to protect Geno when it mattered most, and the running game never found the desired rhythm. That left the offense leaning too heavily on passing bursts that weren't consistent enough to win.
The interception is Jones. Wow, he looked like a receiver slash tight end. He skied to make that interception.
Come on, man. Let's do this.
Find that play. Every down we gonna find that play. We're gonna win this motherfucker.
Seahawks defense is back on the field after a less than stirring drive by the Seattle offense. Purdy's going to drop back 7. He's going to look. He's going to let it fly. Got defenders out there, intercepted.
It all pointed to the same conclusion. Seattle can hang with top competition, but only if the details are sharper. Ball security, sharper red zone play, and longer drives will determine if Seattle builds momentum or slips again in tight games. The loss to San Francisco may have stung, but it also showed exactly where improvement is needed before heading into Pittsburgh. Right now, that San Francisco game is in the rear view, and Pittsburgh is around the corner. The Steelers bring a different test. Their defense now pressures the quarterback and sometimes forces bad decisions. Besides, Aaron Rodgers is under center. Every mistake Seattle makes could turn into points the other way. That means no repeats of last week's red zone stalls or protection breakdowns. Those lapses turned a winnable opener into a frustrating loss. The margin for error shrinks even further against Pittsburgh. But here's the upside. It's only week 2. Mike Macdonald is still putting his stamp on this team, and the Steelers offer a clean chance to show progress. What exactly does the new head coach see when he looks at Pittsburgh, and how is he preparing his group for the challenge ahead? Mike Macdonald opened his Week 2 preview by talking about the challenge of game planning with limited film. He said the Steelers look different now, and preparing for them this early is never simple.
Sometimes, especially in wide zone game, wide zone's really built so you can have an 8th guy in the box and you can still run the ball effectively because of the keeper game on the backside, and that's probably the biggest thing. There's the windows of being in single high, assuming you're meeting single high. Whether you're in cover 3 or cover 1 are a little bit different, but the passes tend to be a little bit more explosive. Run game as well. I'm sorry, Greg. Run game as well. If you get in the alley and you're on the post safety, that's tough,
The quarterback was his next point. Macdonald called Aaron Rodgers one of the smartest players in football. He explained that Rodgers is excellent in reading defenses and using cadence. Moreover, he changes plays at the line. One mistake, Macdonald said, can turn into 6 points. He then moved on to Seattle's offense. The run game never took off against San Francisco. Kenneth Walker found little space while Zach Charbonnet had bursts, but they didn't change the 49ers defense. Macdonald honestly admitted the team lost patience. He said the focus this week is different. The team aims to stay committed to the ground game, even if the early carries go nowhere. Macdonald explained the reason for drawing out such a strategy. Running the ball isn't only about yards. It pushes defenses to adjust and creates openings later. Besides, it sets up the passing game. He also said that Seattle needs balance to win the match against Pittsburgh.
Similar roster, obviously DK's there now, and they lost Pickens, but a lot of the same core guys were playing last year, like the tight ends and the backs. So
Rodgers is renowned for his snap counts, but his play action fakes as well combined. What does that do to the pass rush? What do you have to keep?
Well, like I said, his operation is just really great. That includes throughout the play as well. So, it's Aaron Rodgers for a reason. All those details add up over such a long period of time.
Familiarity with their defense, numbers aside from week 1, what do you know to be true about the way they play?
on their defense. Yeah, they're an opportunistic group. They play with a great spirit. They play with physicality.
The coach talked about player growth too. He mentioned Josh Jobe and Cody White. They earned snaps through consistent work, and McDonald used them as examples of what he wanted. Linebacker came up as well. McDonald said the position is still in rotation. He sees competition there as a positive. Players are battling, and that energy helps the defense. He wants to keep it that way. Throughout his preview, McDonald kept his focus on execution. He didn't overpromise, but he left no doubt about what he expects. However, McDonald's plan depends on the players he has available, and the injury report has already started making room for adjustments. Seattle's secondary has been hit the hardest. Rookie safety Nick Emenwari is dealing with a high ankle sprain and hasn't been able to practice this week. Starting cornerback Devin Witherspoon has been out with a knee issue for 2 straight days. Safety. Julian Love, who was limited on Wednesday, did not practice on Thursday because of a groin injury. That's 3 contributing members of the defensive backfield, either sidelined or limited. The concern grows when you add Jaron Reed to the list. The veteran defensive tackle was limited on Wednesday with a back issue but did not practice on Thursday. His absence takes away the interior push on the defensive line, which could be a problem when facing a quarterback like Rodgers, because he performs when given time.
And that's Devin Witherspoon not practicing at all, dealing with a knee injury. And then Julian Love, probably your best defensive player against the 49ers. Well, he was a limited participant dealing with a groin injury. Let's dive into the scary times first. Devin Witherspoon missed the entire practice, and he's dealing with a knee injury. Whenever I hear knee and I hear a player in the secondary, my heart instantly stops, because it's not like an offensive lineman where, hey, your knee's banged up. Well, guess what? You put a brace on it and you go out there and you figure it out.
However, it's not only about thorns and thistles. There was good news as well. Receiver Jake Bobo, who missed the opener with a concussion, has cleared the protocol and is off the injury report. He is available for week 2. Receiver Derek Young, who sat out last week with a hamstring injury, went from limited participation on Wednesday to a full workload on Thursday. Outside linebacker Uchenna Nwosu has now practiced fully for 2 days, and seemingly he is ready to return. Linebacker Ernest Jones IV, who carried a shoulder injury into the week, was also listed as a full participant. Those developments give the Seahawks depth in areas that struggled against San Francisco. Notably, the Steelers have injury concerns of their own. Cornerback Joey Porter Jr. has missed 2 straight practices with a hamstring injury. Defensive tackle Derek Harmon is out with a knee issue, also for the 2nd day in a row. Veteran defensive lineman Cameron Hayward was given a rest day on Thursday, a non-injury designation. Safety Deshaun Elliott, who did not practice on Wednesday with a knee problem, returned to limited work on Thursday. So the contrast is pretty visible. Pittsburgh has questions in the secondary and along the line, but Seattle's injury list cuts right through the defense. If Witherspoon, Love, and Emenwari can't play, the Seahawks will have to shuffle their coverage schemes and lean on depth players. Reed's situation only adds to the pressure. The official status will come later in the week, but the availability of Seattle's secondary will determine how the defense lines up. So, yes, the Seahawks secondary is banged up, which means the front 7 will carry more weight. The pass rush has to win early downs, and the linebackers need to close running lanes. If the defense can create longer third downs, it takes pressure off the backups in coverage. That balance is what can keep Pittsburgh from dictating the game. On the other side of the ball, there's a call to finish drives. Against San Francisco, Seattle moved the ball, but came away with field goals instead of touchdowns. That can't happen again. Pittsburgh's defense is aggressive and opportunistic. If the Seahawks stall in the red zone, the Steelers will seize the win. Geno Smith has to play with urgency near the goal line, and the receivers have to deliver clean routes under pressure. The run game remains the hinge point. Kenneth Walker needs lanes that weren't there last week. Zach Charbonnet needs consistency. Practically even short gains matter if they keep the offense balanced and set up play action. Seattle can't afford to abandon the run too quickly. Special teams also play into this. Jason Myers was steady in week 1, but the return units have to flip field position. Pinning the Steelers deep and avoiding coverage breakdowns could be the difference in a tight game. The path is narrow, but it's straightforward. It has to be about controlling the line of scrimmage, protecting the football, and converting in the red zone. If the Seahawks manage to do those things, they'll get a chance to change the story from last week. Off the field, Seattle quietly changed game day security. Undercover officers will sit in the stands wearing the opposing team's jerseys. This will help spot bad behavior and intervene quickly when fans cross the line. The team said the officers will help enforce the stadium's fan code of conduct.
Here's KOMO's Tyler Cunnington with the plans for this season.
Ahead of yet another busy Seahawks season, Lumen Field has announced that their law enforcement officers will be hiding in plain sight, wearing the visiting team's jerseys while spread amongst the crowd, looking for instigators, disruptors, and those breaking stadium rules.
That list of offenses include over-intoxication, harassment, obscene gestures, throwing objects, and other dangerous acts. Stadium staff and law enforcement will step in when necessary. Fans can also report issues anonymously by texting HAWK12. People's reaction to this move has been diverse. Some regulars said an undercover presence could catch trouble before it grows. Others said they would prefer visible uniformed officers for reassurance. The split in opinion has been loud online and in the neighborhood around Lumen Field.
More safety, and more protection.
Eddie McDougal works at a restaurant right next to Lumen Field. He agrees with the tactic. He says it's helpful in nabbing the people who think they can get away with causing a scene.
The last time they have their uniforms on, and then they give the other folks, whoever's trying the disruption, they can see them, but when they're undercover, they can catch them quick and fast.
Longtime law enforcement experts say blending in is a common practice for larger events like an NFL game.
It just keeps they get a feel for the tempo and what the crowd is like, and then they can report back to the uniforms if they need them to come help them with anything. Inter
alia, this isn't entirely new for Seattle. The club used covert measures in past seasons when rival crowds packed the stands. The goal then, as now, was to protect fans and keep games focused on football. Expect to see these officers at big matchups first. The Seahawks say the initiative starts with the opener and will continue through the season when needed. Now that week 2 is knocking the doors, the Seahawks get a fair chance to flip the story of disappointment on field. What do you think? Can the team clean it up in time, or will Pittsburgh control this matchup again? Let us know in the comments and subscribe if you haven't already, because more exciting breakdowns are on the way.